What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We've got a great video for you guys today. Lindsay, I appreciate you being here. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So this trade today that you caught, a big winner, 83 pips with your best exit. I want to dive deep into this thing because I think it drives home a couple of important lessons. One of them we talked about in the video that went live yesterday, which was GbpAud, the same pair we're really going to talk about today, where you and I yesterday were trading it, but we both ended up taking, I think I took a small win and you ended up just at break even, correct?
Yeah.
So I want to use that trade yesterday and I want to really kind of get inside your head and I want you to share with us how you kept the bias and how you were still able to come in today and make money on the same pair in the same direction that caused you a break-even trade yesterday. Because a lot of traders will come in, and you know this, we've talked to a couple of people together, they'll come in, they'll take a loss, even they'll take a break-even, and they'll get so thrown down a tunnel of like other trade ideas, chasing trades, just completely off the edge. Whereas if you're able to stay cool, calm, and collected, like we always say we can do in hindsight, but you actually did it in the moment. If you can stay that cool, calm, collective, you're going to be able to come in the next day and make it so that break even or that loss never even happened, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
Go ahead, please. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think for me today, keeping the bias was, as I had put up earlier in my Instagram story, was I knew there was quite a lot of high impact reports coming out. I knew that would chop the markets around. I also knew that there was the kind of AUD news that came out during the night, and it kind of shook the market up. So coming into this morning, there wasn't a lot showing me any perfect liquid 50s, anything like that. But when I came to charts, it was the first pair I have to say I came to was British pound AUD, and I could see that news had shoved it up and it had gave us a blown out ADR. But I also then saw that it just came straight back down and was holding below that 200 and that daily pivot. So I could see the rejection.
About, like right under here, right? So what was that, like a 20 pip range where basically you were looking for it with me yesterday? We were looking to make money over here, right? Where you have it marked, and it basically stayed in that range.
That range.
Yeah, look at that. Wow. You really
and
focus
it was only
on that.
News that had took it up during the night. And
so let's talk about that too, because you did say something about, I want to make sure we touch on, it's important. So that news was on the dollar. It was where we had one of the White House staffers, I believe his name is Peter Navarro. He came out and he said that the China trade deal was basically off. As soon as he said that, the markets went crazy, and the trade deal is between the US and China. But literally just a couple hours, couple minutes later, they backtrack and they were like, no, the comments were taken completely out of context, and then the market completely retraced. Just nuts. It's the closest thing you would ever get to almost manipulation. You know what I mean? Oh, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean. So I think when you see a spike like that, this is an interesting perspective. Do you almost ignore the news here? Do you almost just forget about it and just try to look at the structure as a whole? You still see this level as a bottom, or do you take it into?
No, I saw it come up and straight back down, and then it came back to that same resistance zone that it was at yesterday, that same structure. So it was coming back into structure even after that news. So the news took it up straight back down, and I just ignored it because I could see that it was still holding structure from yesterday.
Now this dotted line here, 1.80559, what is that line? Can you explain to us what that is?
That is a line that comes off from my daily chart as a resistance zone.
So that's a significant, it's a resistance zone. Got it. Okay. So were you looking to trade from that level almost down to like the pivot down here? Was that the first idea as you were coming short?
Yeah, it was to the S1 level.
Perfect. And that's the pivot line right here. So now as this trade started to come down for you, I'm sure, let me see if you put that in your notes here. You graded this as a what, a C?
A C setup.
So were you closing this as it came down? Like you took a little bit off here, and then I see you had a little bit left here, and you just let it.
1 hour. I came down at 1 hour, and I put my stop into profit.
How far was the initial stop today?
It was 28 pips.
Got it.
Because I didn't really like that it hadn't held the lower high as much, so I wanted a safer stop loss, and I knew that it had plenty of room to go, even to the ADR level. So I was going to just be safety and put my stop above the zone and above the daily pivot.
And I think that's a great way to look at it. And it's pretty cool to see this because, and I think it was like the firecracker to my idea of like, yo, we need to make a video about this, was because if you look back to last week, and you guys watching the video can go back and see, we did recaps on my Euro USD trades, 2 videos talking about that. And in that situation, same as this week, Monday to Tuesday, here we had Monday to Tuesday where we were looking for shorts on Monday, same thing like we were doing on Monday last week. This week, I got a little profit, you got it break even. Last week, we took the loss. Either way, you don't let the outcome of the trade influence you. A win, a break even, or a loss. You just take it and you come back the next day, and you stuck with it, even with a TDI here that kind of threw me for a loop. The reason why I don't think I was super hot on trying to find shorts here is because when I was going through my watch list this morning, I was like, oh, TDI is rising here. Looks like it's kind of reset. I see that it's still in the Asian range, like you have it boxed off. I was like, I'll find something else. You know what I mean? So I kind of got thrown for a loop. So tell us, were you using the higher time frames to confirm the bias? And then can you give us detail on how you went to the 1 minute from the entry? Are you starting at the 15 and then going up and then back down to the 1 minute? Is that the right way?
As you know, I go from daily down. So I could see in the daily that the TDI was in the sell zone. And then the 4 hour, it was still in the sell zone. And in the 1 hour, it was in the sell zone. So that was all high time frames. The TDI was fully in the sell zone.
I see that.
So that gave me the confluence, even though the liquid 50 wasn't clean and it was swapping. But what I liked,
you still had so much higher time frame bias. You were like, I'll take it anyway.
Bias was there, and a C setup. That was all I was given it. I was only given it a C setup because of that liquid 50, because it was in the Asia range and it was choppy.
Sure. But everything else, you're 100% right. Definitely makes sense for short bias. I mean, looking at this 1 hour chart, look at that TDI. It's beautiful for sells since last week. It's been beautiful. And I think it's fascinating to see when you look at it this way. This is that news pin last night. Look at the level that it comes to. That's the same level that was at one point support, but then became resistance here, confirmed resistance now here. You know what I mean? So you can see a lot of bias there leaning to the downside. And also, you made a good point about the daily. Look at how long we've been outside just the 8 EMA. You know, you and I talked about this before. Turn these off on the higher time frames, and that's helped you a lot, right?
Oh, it has. Keeping it simple.
Keep it simple. Where is this? It's in a downshift. TDI is in the sell zone and it's outside the 8 EMA. More likely than not, you'd assume it's going to stay outside the 8 EMA. When it breaks up and it starts to turn, that's where we will stop trying to say that. But for now, to say that that's the bottom is stupid. You know what I mean? So you just ride that short bias even lower. Absolutely. Back to your markups. Let's look at the 1 minute now. So the divergence building here takes 2 hours. It's substantial. What kept you patient? Why didn't you jump in here as it started to break down the first time between 8:30 and 9 o'clock?
Because of the chop in the 15
just looked
minute.
Too choppy?
It was just too choppy for me. So on especially that chop, I wanted to see it, you know, hold and not break, get the third jab, and then come down, show me a retest of the 50 and let that liquid 50 come back into the sell zone.
So you were almost looking at this price here, 1.8065, and you were like, that's my top. And you were just saying, let me get confirmation. And I like the way that you use that 3 hits that you know from the course. That is like the more probable way to trade it. But let's look at devil's advocate even. Let's say you jumped in here short before the 3rd hit to the divergence here. Let's say you jumped in. What happens? You take the loss. This is still an entry signal. So taking it one good trade at a time, even if you were a little eager, you could still make money on this. But I think it's important to highlight your patience, how you said, look, it could move here and it could fall lower. That's great. Cool. I won't take that trade. Someone else's money. But if it comes up and retests and gives me an entry, then I will take my entry. And I feel like that's the right way to look at it. If this happens, then this is what I'm going to do. Not, oh, this is happening, so let me do this. You know what I mean? The if then is the right way to look at it. Absolutely. I think you mentioned also the news this morning. So when we woke up, I remember you were saying, I'm going to wait to trade till after the GBP and the Euro news. All the numbers were very positive today. Were you anticipating them to be positive, and was that going to impact your trades at all, or did you really just not care? You just knew you didn't want to trade because it could be volatile.
I just didn't want to trade. I just didn't want to trade because it could be volatile. And
so it just made more sense to stay out of the way.
I think it's just safe, especially with the PMI reports. They go so volatile most times. It's better just to be safe. And wait on the minute. It's actually reports I can remember a way back when I first started trading, and they've just always stuck in my mind that how volatile they can be. and I've just always stayed out the market from them.
So no, that's a great point. And in the US, we have FOMC, we have the NFP announcement. So every country has its events, even our PMI when it comes out, because it has to do with inflation. It can be very impactful. So on a day like today, where you did really well to come in and take not only the lesson from last week on my trades, and you, I think, subconsciously studied, I mean, I know you studied that, you were in the calls, so subconsciously that programmed you a little bit to keep a bias, and then that carried over into you making a great trade today. And you did catch what, at 83 pips was your best exit, 84 pips, something like that?
83 pips, I came out at 3 hours.
That's amazing. It's so awesome. And I think it's important to show here, this is my trade today, a small winner that I had on CadJpy, but just how bias, I think, can almost outweigh a good technical setup. Now, we're not going to call this trade that I found today a good technical setup for sure, because you can see it's a divergent in the Asian range with kind of decent EMAs set up. So this, just like yours, I graded it a C setup. But when I went to the 1 minute, also like yours, I was able to find decent risk reward, which made me interested in the trade. So I was able to get in here, and I'll show you the divergence that I used. I think my one mistake was that I didn't close it fast enough when it pushed up right here to that 15-minute divergence line. I ended up getting stopped out in profit at about 1R as it came back down off of that. Look at how it pins the 15-minute divergence line and just falls right off of it. Yep. I was so excited because it went up 3R. I was like, oh, this could be a good C setup, because I still had half the trade in. So once the divergence set in, I did the same thing that you did. I didn't jump in here, even though I said in the chat that I wanted to. I was like, let's wait. Let's get a retest, because if this comes back down and holds this low, then I'm going to be good to go for an entry. I know where my risk will be. So when it came back through here, that's where I knew my risk could be right there. I put the stop there, and it ran up pretty quickly. I closed most of it, like 50% of it here, almost 2R, and then I should have closed the rest of it here because I knew the 15-minute could have been an issue, but I didn't, and I ended up getting stopped in profit. And it's cool because I think a lot of people would look at it and they would say, well, Austin, how come you move your stop loss? They ask me all the time, you see it. Why do you move your stop loss into profit? Why do you, for setups like this that aren't the most probable and can do whatever they want? Look at the L50. This would tell you it's long bias today, and look at what happened. So even when the TDI is great, I think you helped me remember this a lot too, Lindsay. There's more to it than just the TDI. We need to look at the divergence. We need to look at ADR. Watch, I'll put the ADR on. Look, it was almost maxed out. It literally pinned the divergence and pinned max ADR. So that would have been a really good spot for me to close some more of it. But I think either way, when you can look at my trade here today and how quick I was to snag the bag and be in and out of the trade, there's lessons in that, in the same way that there was a lesson in your patience to come in and say, let me stay with my bias and find that entry again from yesterday that didn't work out for you. It ended up playing out today. So I think for both of us, there's some pros and cons. Do you have anything that you would add on this trade?
No, just exactly what you said, to probably have to, because it was a C setup, take that more off at that 3R just before the ADR level.
3R on a C setup.
Yeah, it was good.
Pinning the high a day, pinning the max ADR level, because that's where the line was. Because remember, this is set down here. So ADR is only 70 pips here. So it's divergent. It's in the Asian range. I should have taken more profit there at 3R. I think that was probably because, again, in the rules, in the exit management, I know that at 2R, you take a little bit more. 3R, take a little bit more and move the stop. So I was just not, I saw it. I wanted to take the picture and send it, and I did. But I think, I mean, look at it on the 1 minute, very quickly, it came right back down off that line. And it was like, okay, we're not holding up there. Yep, that was just one and gone. It's pretty interesting to see. And now just even pulling this up more, look, there's even some bullish divergence in here. Excuse me, bearish from the RSI high right there, 739. Down into 8. So there's some 1 minute divergence that could signal some change at that 15-minute level, which is ADR max, which is the Asia high, which is the divergent line. So there's a lot of issues with it. But I think, like I said, why do you think there's so many pairs this week that have been choppy? Even your trade on GA today, like I said, the TDI definitely could have been better. Why do you think it's so choppy?
I don't know. I actually don't know why it was so choppy. I mean, that just was so from yesterday, basically. Was just sat in that range. And then obviously the divergence, and it just goes to show, especially that divergence, that was strong yesterday and it wasn't breaking it. And obviously that was another reason I knew that this has to be a C setup, because this can come back to this zone from yesterday and not crack it. And
look at that.
You, as you know, the stronger it goes to that zone. So it broke it and it was a nice trade, but it was worth the C setup. It wasn't worth any more than that.
And I think you had the higher time frames on your side. If you had the
Yeah.
4 hour and the 1 hour not short biased here, this probably would not look like this. This
No,
would not have worked
no.
out so well. You know what I mean? So when
And
you have
that's what I always have to drive home to people when they see
higher
me
time
taking
frames.
these, like these trades off the 200, off the pivot point, but
Yep.
they must always remember I'm taking it off the higher time frame.
Right, you're getting a bias first to create the idea, and then you're using the lower time frame to confirm the A1, the D1, or whatever it is. When was the last time you took a D2 trade?
Never.
I never see you take D2 trades. You're always in trend. And now you see what I'm calling the.
Took a couple of D2s. I'm sure I've said that to you on my demo account, just because I have no confidence in them. And yet there's people on the team who, like Alex,
crush it with them. Alex, I know, right? It's crazy.
Success. But for me, they just don't fit my personality, so I just don't take them.
That's so funny. I sit more in your boat than I do in his boat. When we wake up in the morning and he's up on 2 D2 trades already, he kills it. And it's so awesome to see that, because that's even another example of how the uniqueness that everybody puts into the system. It's the same foundation, but he still can go in and, you know. And I think the patience that you show in the entry, like on that 1 minute chart where you really waited and you're like, you do it best. You wait for that structure. That's something that I think translates over into your selectiveness in your trading. And that has become a big impact. It has made a big impact, I think, in the way that you're getting picky and getting down to, hey, here's my bias. Here's the 1 or 2 pairs that I like, and these are the ones that I want to be involved in. And Alex does the same thing in his own way, just like I do. And I think it's cool because you have your own uniqueness too, in the sense that you're really good at catching trades off the 200 EMA. And I've been complimenting you on it in the markers. You see it really well. I
think that was something that when I just came to ASFX, even when I look back in my markups, I don't know what it is about. I always just feel that coming off the 200 though, I've got to have my pivot right next to it, and in all my markups usually the pivot is right at the 200, so I'm not inclined to take it off the 200 if it's like above it and the pivot's away from it.
That makes a lot of sense.
It just gives me that confidence.
And I also think you have the higher time frames on your side, which is why the 200 trades are becoming your signature thing. You know what I mean? Because you're starting at that higher time frame, which when you start there, that 200 EMA, which would be a higher time frame EMA on the 15-minute, that level on the 4 hour or the daily, it doesn't look like the 200. It's the 50 or it's the 21. It's a short-term EMA, so it makes sense. So I think that helps too. It's the higher time frames. But this is good stuff. I feel like we definitely covered a lot in this video for everybody that is on our team. I think this is going to be a good recap for them to see how you, like I said, stuck to your bias, even with a setup that was a little less probable because of the rip, because of the volatility. You were able to make a C setup pay really well. 80 pips is fantastic. And on top of that, I think it's really good for them to see how you use the higher time frames different than I do. And we both favor different entry signals than Alex, but together everybody can still be on the same team, still support each other, and everybody can still make money. There's no zero sum at all. So I think there's a lot of value here. And like I said, I just really appreciate you not only taking these trades and setting us up for some great education and some great videos, but I appreciate you being on the team and looking out for the other traders too, because I know they really appreciate it. I only get compliments from you, Lindsay, I promise.
Thank you.
So for everybody that's here with us, we appreciate you very much. I'm going to put Lindsay's links down in the description if you want to book a one-on-one with her, if you want to follow her on Instagram, and hopefully we get her making YouTube videos soon, and that way I can go back and link her YouTube videos, her YouTube channel soon as well. But Lindsay, I appreciate it always. Thank you very much. Everybody, we'll see you in the next video.